Hello. So I thought I'd try making a World Cup fantasy video. Got about a week to go, and I haven't actually even done a draft yet officially. I had my first 5 minutes last night. I took my team off auto pick, and did a first draft. I've actually been spending the last couple of weeks just trying to get structural stuff figured out. I've been kind of playing about with the model, stuff that I kind of find fun. I like doing all the kind of foundational stuff, and then so I've been asking lots of questions. So I'm just going to kind of share my thoughts on where I've got up to. This might be a long video because I've been dabbling with loads of little bits and bobs. So we'll see where we go. I'm going to talk about like a bunch of tips and insights and stuff that I've been having. A bunch of tips and insights. Then I want to think about like chip strategy is a big one, because you need to know when you're wildcarding and what you're going to do. If you're wildcarding match day 3, then you can pick your team for match day 1 and 2. And then I'll have a look at the model. Been looking at loads of stuff, the schedule, motivations, rotation, bits and bobs. What's that one? That's nothing. So I'm just going to waffle and see where we get. I'm going to start with like a bunch of like little insights and tips and stuff that I've been thinking that I haven't heard many other people say, so I just thought I'd mention it. So firstly, going over the rules, the third place playoff, I believe, is included in the final, so you'll get points for it, I think. Now I'm basing that on the last 3 World Cup fantasies. The third place playoffs has been a part of it. So this is 2014. I was just googling it, found a fantasy football website. 2014, the third place playoff was a part of it, by the looks of it. And this was from 2014, I think, pretty sure 2014. So this is one of the pictures from it, and it only says final there. It only says final, but it does include the third place playoff. It doesn't actually say it in the rules. So this is the same situation we've got at the moment with the rules, where it just says the final, but it doesn't say third place playoff. But it was included in 2014. It was included in 2018. This is from Fantasy Football Scout. It says the final round, which takes in both the third, fourth place playoff and the final. So that was 2018. And this is 2022. 2022, it looks like it did actually. This looks like a picture from the thing, and it looks like it does include it in the rules. And it was in the last one as well. I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether it says it there, but it says it here, obviously. World Cup 22, the third place playoff was included. So we don't really know, because the rules doesn't actually say anything about the third place playoff, but I would guess it will be included. Strikes me as weird that you'd get a whole third place playoff game happening and you wouldn't get any points for it. It's like it's a part of the tournament. So I think it will happen, and I think so these 6 transfers you get for the final, they're almost not necessary, because all the players you have for the semi-finals will be playing again for the final, or the same teams at least. So these will just be like luxury transfers, and basically. So that's the first thing. Third place playoff probably going to happen. Chances created. I believe a big chance is created. This is again based on Club World Cup. So in the Club World Cup, because it's a very similar game, there was no big chance created points added for the whole of the first round until the very last game. This chap noticed his chances created got added, and I think because people were having chances created, but it was the big chances created. He had this chap had 2 big chances created, and it was the first time that anybody had 2 big chances created, and he got the point. So in Club World Cup, I'm pretty sure it was big chances created. This was the Club World Cup here. It wasn't until that game there that somebody finally got 2 big chances created. So it's pretty rare. This is the big chance created per 90 in the Premier League last year. Bruno Fernandes, top 0.94 per game, per 90. So he's not even getting 1 big chance per 90. So it's quite rare to get many big chances, but I think that's probably what's going to happen. If it is chances rather than big chances, the rate of chances to big chances is about 5 or 6 times, according to AI, who sometimes I ask AI a lot these days, and sometimes AI just talks out of his butt, so it might might not be right, but that's what sometimes it's just quicker to ask AI sometimes. 5 or 6 times more chances created than big chances. So if it is chances, then Bruno could be expected to get 2 points, is it? So 3 points for chances created. Where is it? Every 2 chances created, so he might get 5 or 6 or something. So he could get 3 points a game if his chances created, but we'd have to keep an eye on that. But I think his big chances created anyway. That's what it was in Club World Cup. Tackles, I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not pretty sure, but I think it's all tackles rather than tackles won, because I think that's what it was in the Club World Cup as well. My thinking is because I made a little model for Club World Cup. I don't think I've got it up here. I made a little model for Club World Cup, and I used all tackles rather than tackles won for that. So that's what makes me think. And I think the general consensus was, I've spoken to other people, and I think they think it's tackles won, all tackles, not just tackles won as well. I think it's all tackles. Now the rate of tackles won to tackles is like twice as. So you have, for every 2 tackles, there's about 1 tackle won for all players. The really good DMs might be about 60-70%. Again, according to AI, I think that's about right. Probably might be about 60-70% rate. But there's not going to be that many tackles. These are all the tackles won per 90 of all the players in the game since through the qualification period. Now some of these numbers are skewed. A lot of these players at the top are skewed. But once you get down to some of these players who might actually be a pick, like, I don't know, Lee Tai Sok, whatever his name is, we're already on like 3 and then under 3 tackles won per 90. If you double it, you're talking 6 tackles. If it's all tackles, we're talking 6 tackles max. And what did I say the tackles was? It's every 3 tackles. So they might get 2 points. Some of these players might get 2 points if they can get up to 6. But on average, they're probably going to be just below that 6 mark. So, I mean, the first player that I noticed that might actually be decent is Kalanoglu, who's like pretty nailed. He looks quite nailed. Haven't researched it massively, but he looks quite nailed. He's got reasonably good numbers, a goal and 4 assists, and he gets tackles won at 2.1 per 90. So he might get 4 tackles a game. So you might get an extra point. I don't think you really need to think about it that much. I'm thinking of chances created and tackles as just like bonus points. I'm not really focusing on it. And I'll come on to that in a minute, but like, yeah. All tackles though. Qualification bonus doesn't count towards scouting bonus. And it doesn't double for cap either. So again, this is based on Club World Cup. FBL Abby here noticed it. So it looks like you get 5 points. So she captained this player and he got 8 points. They gave her 8 points. But he's got 3 points, 3 normal points. So that's doubled to 6. And then the qualification bonus makes it 8. That's how it's worked there. So the qualification bonus didn't double. It didn't double for the captain. And it didn't count towards the scouting bonus. No, is that right? Yes. Oh, yeah, he's under 5% owned. So captained, but he only got 3 points. So that would have counted towards the scouting bonus if it had been... It would have got a scouting bonus because it would have put it to 5, but it didn't count towards the scouting bonus and it didn't double for captain. So just bear that in mind. That's that one. Can only carry 1 free transfer over in the group stages, not the knockouts. I just heard a couple of people say that you can carry transfers over in the knockouts, but I don't think you can. The rules specifically say only during the group stage. It just says it doesn't say only during the group stage. It says during the group stage. 1 transfer can be carried over to the next group stage. It doesn't necessarily stipulate that you can't carry transfers over in the knockouts, but I'm pretty sure you couldn't in past tournaments I've played here. This chap in the Champions League is a similar format, and he says after the knockout stages you can't carry over free transfers there. And this chap was talking about the Euro 24, and I think here he says once the knockout stage starts you can't carry any free transfers forward between match days there either. That was my instinct as well. So I don't think you can carry transfers over in the knockout stages. So something to bear in mind. Then bugs. So anyone who's played FIFA games will know that they're quite renowned for being a bit buggy, especially 2022 World Cup was like full of bugs. Even Club World Cup, it was well run, but there was a few bugs here and there, so it's worth, I treat it as part of the game. It's kind of like, it's fun, it's good to kind of like be wary of this stuff, because you want to you just got to play the game as it is, as it's presented to you, and so it's good to be wary of this stuff. One thing to notice is in Club World Cup, 5% scouting bonus. Sometimes there was, I think this is just going off memory, there were some players who had two different players who had 5% scouting bonus. One of them got the scouting bonus and one of them didn't. And my theory was that one of them might have been on 4.95% and it got rounded up to 5, and somebody else had 5.04 and it rounded down to 5. And so I think the rule still is less than 5% gets the scouting bonus, but you might see that sometimes that some players get scouting bonus, some players don't, even though they're both 5%. Plus their percentage might change after the deadline immediately. It might be like a rolling thing. So it might say 5.1 when you check it an hour after the deadline. But actually on the deadline it was 5. So I would just trust that one for now. Time between games. So this is something to be wary of. Most of the games there's about 3 hours between all the games. The games will go on for about 2 hours. And then you've got an hour to make your changes. But sometimes it takes a while to update the game. Not all the time. I think most of the time it was fine during the Club World Cup, but I seem to remember there was the odd game when the game would just take ages to upload, to update, and I'd be waiting till like 10 minutes before the next kickoff, wanting to change my captain, and the game still hadn't updated. And of course, my players are still locked. When it's in that place where it hasn't quite set, your players are still locked, and so you can't do them. You can't do manual changes to those players. You can do players to players who aren't locked. And that's something to be wary of. The final game in match day 3 is 2.5 hours, so that's one of the closest. So these two groups here, which are like K and J, maybe K and J, Argentina, Portugal, only 2.5 hours between those games, so you should be fine. But something to be wary of, that if you're changing captains in that little window, you need the game to update as well. Yeah, and then you need the game to update, which you should do. The only time you might be wary of it is if you're going to put a captain on a total crap player like a cheap keeper just for the hell of it, and you've got the next game you're waiting to put your captain on Haaland or something. If there's any doubt, maybe just don't put your captain on that cheap keeper. Just wait, because you might not get the chance to put it on Haaland in the next game. I think it's a small risk, but another thing to think about is in America there's all these like random storms, and in Club World Cup one of the games got delayed by 2 hours, and during that 2 hours all your players were locked, so you couldn't, if you had a captain, this is a Chelsea game, if you had a captain on that Chelsea game, you couldn't change that captain. I think so, in my memory of it, you couldn't change that captain until that game was unlocked and finished. And they do get these like random storms in America where they just, even just when there's a very big dark cloud coming over, they just for safety reasons, I don't know, they've got extreme weather over there. And then you've also got things like, there's a lot of controversy at the moment in the world. I'm trying to kind of stay out of it, but you never know what other things could delay a game. So again, these are all low chance things, although it happened in the Club World Cup, but low chance things. But maybe if you've got a captain who you don't really need to put it on, maybe you try and pick players who are 2 games apart rather than 1 game apart, something like that, if you can. Something to think about. And then the OPTA updates. I think, again, I'm not sure about this, but my memory was that the OPTA updates can sometimes be up to 24 hours, maybe more, I don't know, but it's about 24 hours after a game. And sometimes if you've got a player who has a dubious assist or a goal that hasn't been quite accredited yet, you might not get the points until the next day, and that might affect your decision making with whether to keep the captain on this player or not. And if you're waking up at 3 in the morning to just check, and your captain and your player says, oh, he's only got 5 points, you think, nah, it's not good enough, I'm going to switch. I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'd like to try and figure out a method to quickly check if there's any dubious points to be added. Because if my player has like a goal that is probably going to be added but just hasn't been added yet, maybe I wait. Maybe I leave the captain on him and say, actually, no, he might get a 12-pointer here or something like that. Just something to be aware of. Little things to be aware of. Yeah, sometimes the points don't get added immediately. I think Otamendi had an own goal or something that got added the next day and all this kind of stuff. And so something to be aware of. And then also, last in the Club World Cup again, the Game Week 1 deadline closed 1 hour early. I think it was an hour early. Might have even been 2, but I think it was at least an hour early. Something to do with probably the, the time windows, whatever. So that caught a lot of people off guard. Like literally the deadline for Game Week 1, everyone's getting ready. It closed an hour early, and it didn't open again. I don't think so. I think it did it. It might have done, but my memory of it is that was it, and everyone was just screwed unless you had your team ready. So I would recommend getting your team ready several days early, and then just kind of make changes when you're ready to make changes, and then lock it in. Don't leave it till the last minute, because the game could lock an hour early because of time zones. And there could be other bugs in the game as well. So be wary of things like that. There was another one I thought of. I can't remember what it was now, but yeah, be wary of bugs. Goals. I'm thinking there's going to be more goals. Before I forget as well, so one of the things about the points system in this game, scoring, is that the main thing that's changed compared with FPL is that there's just way more focus on goals. So forwards get an extra point for a goal, 5 points. Midfielders get an extra point, 6. Defenders get an extra point, 7. Forget about goalies, they're not scoring. Well, they might. That's the main thing. And then also clean sheets get an extra point. But clean sheets, you can only get 1 clean sheet per game, so there's like a ceiling there. Whereas goals, there's no ceiling. Everything else seems to be about the same. Everything else is about the same, and all the other little points are kind of like bonus, lucky things you can't really count on. Appearance points the same, assists the same, yellow cards, red cards, own goals. Winning a penalty, this kind of stuff is like just bonus. I'm not sure you can really count on stuff like this. A team that concedes 3 or more, you're probably not going to have a defender who's likely to concede 3 or more, and if you do, it's just bad luck. So that doesn't really change things. Still free saves for a keeper. No DEFCON, no bonus. So again, any players in FPL that got points from other places, like Bruno maybe, DEFCON bonus assists. Any player that gets goals, they're going to be the ones that get the majority of the points now. So it's all about goals. It's all about goals. The free tackles is probably going to be fairly rare, and it's only a point. 2 chances created, really rare. And then the 2 shots on target, well, you're picking forwards who are going to be getting loads of shots anyway, hopefully, so it doesn't make much difference. Free kicks, rare. Scouting bonus. Scouting bonus is interesting. I think I was bullish on it in Club World Cup, but I think I still only picked maybe 3 or 4 scouting 5%, less than 5% owned players. And I'm feeling this time, actually, right now, I'm feeling like I may actually avoid it a little bit. It's only 2 points. I really want to focus on goals. I've switched. My going into this game, I haven't listened to any content for ages. I was just focused on myself, doing my own thing, and my original thought was I was going to go very differential. I was going to wildcard in the knockouts, which I think I've changed my mind on now, but I'll talk about that in a minute. I was going to wildcard in the knockouts. I was going to go very differential, go super scouting bonus, avoid the big teams, go for like Colombia's and Ecuador's and Switzerland's, and get all these scouting bonuses and things like that. I may still do that, but I've now switched towards goals now, because again, scouting bonus is only 2 points. So I think my view towards scouting bonus is that if there's like a defender or a keeper who's under 5% owned and it's just not that much different to somebody I've got, then I might just make the switch. But I'm not going to focus on it too much, I don't think. We'll see. Anyway, so that's scouting bonus. Yeah, so I think so. More goals. Goals are important in the game, and then I also think there might be more reason to believe there could be a lot more goals in this tournament. So this is the first time third place qualifies since the 90s. And match day 1 used to be kind of full of like edgy draws. My memory of it, at least, and whereas now that might not happen so much because it's not quite so important. Third place tiebreakers, by the way, while I'm on the topic, will be broken up by points, then goal difference, then goal scored, and then it's team conduct, and then FIFA ranks. So that's the tiebreakers. The clean sheet rate has been decreasing. So I was looking into the clean sheet rate of all these last tournaments. There's the Club World Cup, then all the Euros and all the World Cups, the pinks of the World Cups, going back to 2006. And this is the clean sheet rate for the Prem, but it's much less. It's like 25% clean sheet rate per game, not per game, per match week, game week or something. You get about 25% rate clean sheets. And so these are the rates, and generally since 2006 to today, the trend is going down, you could say. I mean, it's not a huge sample size, but you could say the trend has been going down. I mean, it might be skewed from some of these early ones. But yeah, I like that narrative because I'm trying to build a narrative that's going to be more goals. So it looks like it's going to be less clean sheets. Yeah, not a huge data set that. And I was trying to figure out about the heat. I might look into that in a minute. But could be more clean sheets. It looks like the rate's been going down at least. You've also got these new FIFA rules, which are, let's have a look. Where I put the FIFA rules? So less time wasting. 5-second countdown for goal kicks and throw-ins. 10-second substitutes as well. So they're trying to cut out time wasting. In FPL, in the Premier League, a couple of years back when they did the added time thing, that was when we had the season where it had way more goals. More time players are on the pitch, more goals we're going to get generally. So less time wasting, more goals, probably another reason. And then the heat, there's a study here where it says matches contested in conditions exceeding 22 degrees demonstrate a statistically significant enhancement in overall goal productivity. Specifically, teams achieve a greater number of goals, exhibit improved shot conversion rates, and undertake a higher volume of both total and on-target shots. Is it shots on target? Yeah, it's shots on target. This is just one study, but this is one study. I tend to think it's probably right. Like the study is the one that's going to be looking at the whole picture. I can think of anecdotal times when that hasn't really happened. The last day of the Premier League, I thought there'd be more goals. We actually had less because it was a hot day. We didn't actually have many. And again, so the weather here. What do I want to look at? So this one was very hot. So you would think there'd be more goals, less clean sheets. But the clean sheets was actually fairly high there. It's like a bit of a high one there. So that didn't match. But I think there were some others that were hot and did. That one's fairly low, 2014. It's a relatively low one, and that was hot. So that matches the narrative. But then that one, like this Germany one, 2006, that was a heat wave apparently. And they had loads of clean sheets. I think maybe the sample size isn't big enough. I like the idea that the hotter it is, the more goals there'll be, because it's basically to do with defensive lapses towards the end of the game, I think. Yeah, I don't know. So this is all anecdotal. I think I'm more inclined to trust this study. And anyway, I'm just building a narrative to suggest maybe there'll be more goals, and maybe in terms of picking my team, I just want to pick goal scorers and focus on that as being my main thing. Goal scorers right across, even defenders like Dumfries and Munoz and Nico O'Reilly, whoever. Just want to get some goal scorers in my team. So that's my strategy. Then rotation, I looked at rotation. So past tournaments, this was the... I was really considering... I'll talk about it now. I was going to talk about it later, but... I was really considering wildcarding in the groups, because every one of these tournaments, I swear it happens every time, everybody wildcards in match day 3 and then everyone gets wrecked in the knockouts. Everyone gets wrecked in the knockouts. Even World Cup 22, when we had the rolling lockout, and they actually gave us extra transfers. You had unlimited before round of 16, then you had 4 transfers during round of 16, and then another 5 before the quarterfinals, and then like 6 before the semis, and then 7 or something like that, But you actually had like an extra 4 transfers as well, and people still got wrecked. Even in that one, I remember there was people, because you always get upsets, and then there's also injuries, suspensions, and even some surprise rotations and things like this. If you think you don't need to save your wild card for the knockouts, I think you're wrong. Unless you're lucky. Unless you get lucky, I think we won't have enough transfers. We will get wrecked, probably. Statistically speaking. But I still think I might wildcard match day 3 though anyway, because I think the loss of not wildcarding match day 3, it means I'm going to have to go for a bunch of players who... There's going to be... Well, this is the thing. So rotation, because there's going to be rotation in match day 3. So I was trying to think, was there really that much rotation? So I looked back through the last couple of tournaments. World Cup 22, this was England. They won their first one, drew their second. So this is the situation going into the third game. And this is how much they rotated. So green is a player played all 3. Blue is a player played 2. And pink is a player played just 1 game. And the different shades are just to kind of demarcate, so you can see, but basically it's just blue, pink and green, 1, 2 and 3. So they rotated some players, 4 players in the fight, but they kind of needed to do that. And it was Mount, Trippier, Saka, Sterling, it's wingers, the players who kind of do the most running probably, because they hadn't guaranteed the final qualification yet. But Brazil won their first 2, France won their first 2, and they mass rotated. Huge rotation, like almost the entire team, and they both lost those games as well, but it didn't matter because they had already qualified. So they mass rotated. I should just say as well, every other tournament other than this one, there's been less time between games, whereas this tournament there's like almost a week between everyone's games, so that we may not see as much rotation. That's something to maybe look into. I think we've got a good like week between every game. I haven't double checked that, but I looked at like Mexico. Mexico, like they play on the 11th and then the 18th, 7 days later. And then their next game is 24th, 6 days later. So, I mean, I don't know when the round of 32 starts, but if it's another week, I mean, it'll probably hot up towards the end. But if the round of 32 is like another week later, you could almost argue that they need to keep the rhythm. They might, so there could be more people playing in that game. Something to think about. So, but based on past tournaments, usually a lot of rotation. If a team wins the first 2, they tend to rotate a lot. If they don't, so Spain won the first one but drew the second. Still a little bit of rotation. The main players still played. Not much for Germany, but they lost their first game, then drew their second, so they couldn't rotate. Didn't have the freedom, liberty. Portugal won their first 2. Quite a lot of rotations. Quite a lot of rotation through the whole tournament, to be honest. Ronaldo played all of them. Neves, Cancelo, Costa, but these guys, Bruno, Silva, Felix, all got rested. Club World Cup, PSG actually rotated the most on the middle game, which is weird, and they lost that game. I'm not sure what that was about, and because they lost it, then they kind of had to play a bit of a stronger team in the second game. So I don't know, maybe they were just chancing it in the second game, but backfired. Bayern Munich won their first 2 games, a little bit more rotation in the second. Some teams kind of seem to kind of try to blend their rotation, so they got kind of some they try to blend it, mix it up a bit. Argentina, I think, do it at some point here. They've got kind of a good mix of players who play all the games and then some rotation, even though they lost that and drew that. So sometimes that happens as well. So yeah, that's something to be wary of, isn't it? Like, then you might get, some teams might rotate not just in match day 3, they might rotate in all of them. I don't know, I think some managers pick teams based on the opponents and the tactical strength of different players. I think it may be more to do with that than rest. So something to be wary of. Chelsea, they won their first, lost their second, but they still rotated. Even in their situation, they still rotated quite a bit in the third. Some main players like Caicedo missing out, Reece James, Colwill, Cucurella, even Sanchez. So they still rotated a bit in the third. Then World Cup 2018, France won the first 2, rotated in the third. Makes sense. Again, Argentina, as I said, a bit of a mix of rotation, so you've got to be wary throughout the tournament. Although I think, haven't they got like quite a nailed, settled team this time? Not sure. Brazil drew their first, won the second. I guess because they drew their first, maybe, but that's the most nailed, unchanged team I've seen out of all of these. It's only Paulinho to Fagner. That was it. So the rest of them all nailed, all 3. But they did draw their first game, so maybe that's why. England won the first 2, mass rotation in the third. That does seem to be the theme. That was against Belgium. They won the first 2, mass rotation in the third. So, and then Germany lost and then won, so not as much rotation. And so this was the thing that was making me think maybe I should wildcard in match day 3 then, because there's so many points up for grabs in match day 1 and 2 because the difference between teams is so huge, and then there could be a lot of rotation in that third one. There is a strong possibility of getting wrecked in the knockouts, but there's a possibility you won't. There's a possibility you could get lucky. You got your bench. We got some transfers. I mean, I'll have a look at this. This was my attempt to try and calculate, get a feel for what the knockouts are going to feel like in terms of transfers. I'll see if I can get through this because this was a bit complicated. But here's a round of 32, 16, quarterfinal, semi-final, final, and third place. These teams are the teams that the supercomputer reckons. These are like the favourites to get through to each round and stuff. You got 3 players per team, then 4, then 5, then 6, then 8. And we got unlimited before that round. Then we have 4 free transfers, 4 for that round before the quarters, 5 before the semis, 6 before the final. We do have this extra round of 32. That's another thing that in past tournaments, people have even got wrecked when there's only a few rounds here. But we've got a whole extra round to get through. A whole extra round of variants. So I'm still considering wildcarding in the knockouts. If you pick one player from each team, just spread your bets, which I'm probably not going to do, but if you push towards that idea of just spreading your bets as much as you possibly can, then the maximum you could get if you spread your bets, and make sure, and this is like picking one team, a player from one game. So if you pick a player from Canada, don't pick a player from Korea. If you pick a player from Netherlands, don't go from Morocco. If you do that, the maximum you could get is 15 people through. Great. But the minimum is 0, so you could get totally screwed. The odds, and I'll put a 75% rate of upset rate on this. If you just go for all the favourites, 75% upset rate, you probably end up with about 11 players that come through if you do it like that. And you've got 4 free transfers, so you probably end up with 15. So that sounds fine. If you're willing to, obviously you could get totally wrecked there, but the odds are you should be fine if you do that. But if you do, I set one up. So if you do something like this instead, where you spread your bets, this is like the other extreme. So you just go for 8 players from one team, 7 from the other side. You can guarantee yourself a minimum of 7 players in the next round. And with your 4 free transfers, you're guaranteeing yourself a minimum of 11 players in the next round. So that's like the safest way you could do it. But you're only going to have, that's a minimum of 11, but the maximum of 12, because you've got a maximum of 8 players. So you could play it safe like that, but I think we'll probably be somewhere in between, most of us. And we'll probably want to kind of double or maybe even triple up on the teams that are the super favourites. That's how you'll probably end up doing it. I can't remember what I was going to say that was that interesting, but yeah, I mean, I suppose both of those scenarios we should be fine. It's just the possibility that what if we get 50% upsets. So 50% upsets, this method will keep you safe. But again, max 12, minimum 11. Whereas if you go for this method, all in on one, and there's a 50% upset rate, well, see that one, even if there's a 50% upset rate, you could still get to 12 players. You'll probably end up on about 8 of your players will come through. With 4 free transfers, you'll still get to 12. So that's not too bad. So yeah, maybe I'm overstating it. Maybe it is okay. But I can't remember what else I was going to say. I feel like this is what I'm probably going to do is something more like this. No, I don't know. That's not what I was going to do. Yeah, I don't know. Ignore that. And so it's the same with the round of 16 quarters. I think there was something I was going to say about. Hang on, let me pause it because there's something I was going to say about this. Oh yeah, I think it was just that you can only have a maximum of 6 players per team. So if you go 6 from France and 6 from Argentina, that's 12. You have to pick some. You can't do this method of just only picking the favourites. You're going to have to spread your bets in the semi-final because you don't have enough players. There's a max of 6 per team. And, I mean, obviously you've got your bench, so you could just bench the players who you think are going to lose or who do lose. But that was just something that was like, I don't know, logistically interesting to me. In the final, doesn't matter though, you can get 8, so you could double up on just the winners. Anyway, so what was I saying? Rotation. Well, I went on to wildcards, didn't I? And so, yeah, maybe you can get through the knockouts without using a wildcard. I think we might get wrecked, though. I don't know. I'm leaning towards matchday 3 wildcard, though, at the moment. Anyway, so another thing, we'll get lineups for these games. Matchday 1, you'll get, because the deadline will be at the kickoff of this game. So Mexico, South Africa. Matchday 2 will be Czechia versus South Africa, and then matchday 3 they all play at the same time, or each group plays at the same time. So Switzerland versus Canada and Qatar versus Bosnia. Just something to be aware of. If you're interested in any of those players, you'll get an advantage because you'll actually know for sure that they're playing. Mexico, maybe. There might be some players I'm looking at. Switzerland, well, matchday 3 I might wildcard, so we'll see. And then yellow card suspensions, something else to be wary of. 2 yellow cards means you miss the next game, but there's 2 amnesties, one after the group stage, one after quarterfinals. So if you get 2 yellow cards in the group stage, you miss round of 32. If you get 1, then it resets to 0 in the round of 32. Same with the round of 32, 16 and quarters. If you get 2 in those 3 games, you miss the semis. If you only get 1, then when you get to the semis, it resets to 0. Red cards, miss next game, no amnesty, so that's just the same. But the interesting thing is, so on matchday 3, if you've got a player who hasn't had any yellow cards yet, could that make them more likely to get a yellow card in matchday 3? Maybe, because they know that it's not going to matter, because it's just going to be wiped out in the next game if they haven't had a yellow card yet. Whereas players who have had yellow cards, could that make them either more likely to be rotated, or maybe even if they play, they probably less likely to get a yellow card? But minor thing. But that's yellow card suspensions. So that's all of that. Actually, while I'm talking about boring things, just one other. Do I want to talk about this? Yeah, may as well. Captaincy. I asked AI again. I love talking to AI about stuff. I was trying to get a sense of the stick and twist. When do you stick and when do you twist? If you've got 15 captains and your first captain scores 10 or more, then stick, but less, then change. This was what what's his name said, just as a general rule. Now I think most of us probably won't have more than about 8 or 9 captains max. So AI was saying to stick on 9 or more. I didn't feed it in with the full information, so this was just a very rough guide. Stick on 9 or more, and then as you get less and less captains, captain chances left, you should stick on less and less numbers. So this was the guide, and I thought that was interesting. So I've heard some people say they would stick on like 12 or more, and I feel like I'm inclined. I feel like I'm more inclined to stick on these types of numbers, like 9 or 10s. I would probably stick on, unless I had a really good feeling about somebody coming later. Depends who you've got, which players you've got coming later. But I think it's interesting in terms of max captain, because I kind of somewhat accidentally, I used max captain in Club World Cup match day 1 last time, and I regretted it. But that was partly because we didn't fully know the rules. There was confusion about the game, whether we could actually change captains or not. And so I just did max captain just in case. And I didn't need to do it. It was a waste. But there was this Bayern Munich game in the Club World Cup, and they won like 10-0 or something like that. 10-0 there. And like everybody scored apart from Kane. Kane blanked. But Elise got like 20 odd points. Musiala, loads of people got loads of points, I think. But Kane blanked. So that would have been a really good time to have used your max captain. Because, players in the same game, you can only pick one of them. You can't change it. So I can see the benefit of using max captain in a earlier round. But max captain in the final, one thing to say about that is the idea that there's less goals in the final is not actually, the data suggests there's actually usually more goals in the final. Now it's a small sample size, there's only a few games in each one of these, so we've had some high scoring games in the final. Qatar was like a 4-all or 2, I can't remember, it was like or 2 or something like that. It was a big one, 3-all. Russia, apparently we had a lot of goals. And you've also got the third place playoff, which can often be quite a high scoring game as well. So if that's included, I think there could be a lot of goals in the final round. And so max captain, that makes me think max captain in the final round, given that we got a lot of players from single teams and still potentially a lot of goals. It's not going to be 10-0 though. You're not going to get the 10-0s or the 9-0s and stuff. Because that's the thing about the earlier rounds, catching one of those. But I think my instinct about stick or twist is that I'm not going to be that bullish on it. I think I'm going to find an 8, 9 or 10 and I'm just going to stick. I'm going to be really nervous to move off of that. So I can see the benefit of max captaining earlier. But I don't know. I think I'm starting to lean towards being more bullish, try to be a bit more braver, and so I should probably just trust that I can catch one with my stick and twist technique in the earlier rounds and hope that I do, and then save it for the final. So at the moment I'm leaning towards wildcard match day 3 max captain final, which is what everybody else is as well, but that is where I'm leaning as well. So that's the chips. More rotation in groups. Yeah, so that was another thing I was thinking about with the wild card. If I did use my wild card in later on, it would kind of force me to pick players who are less rotation prone, which means I'll probably have to pick players from teams that are not as good. But then I might get the scouting bonus, and maybe that scouting bonus might make it worth it. But I think wildcard in match day 3, there's a good chance you're probably going to do that at least for one of those rounds and get a load of scouting bonus in match day 3, because you might pick a load of random players there. So, and then just missing out on the big monster games, Spain versus Curacao, whoever it is, Germany, Cape Verde. I think that could be too damaging. So, yeah, I'm probably going to wildcard matchday 3. 12th man. 12th man. I think I'm just thinking I will... you've got less rotation in match day 2, probably. Most of it will be in match day 3. There might be a little in match day 1. People coming back from the Champions League. People not quite fit yet. I don't know. I would imagine match day 2 will see the least amount of rotation. So that's good. I'm also imagining I've got unlimited going into match day 1. But in match day 2, I'm going to want to bring in lots of players. I mean, I was looking at this. This is match day 1. You've got like Spain, Germany, maybe Switzerland, Uruguay. It's some good games. But then when you get to match day 2, Brazil have a good game against Haiti. England against Ghana is apparently a good game, according to this team strength model. France versus Iraq. Ecuador versus Curacao. Suddenly there are a bunch of other games that I'm going to want to get to. So I think 12th man just kind of gives me one extra player that I can get to from these games. So that's what I'm thinking. Budget considerations with the 12th man. I haven't really thought about that, but that's something to think about maybe. 12th man, because you can use 12th man anytime. Are we going to be tighter on budget at any point? Could that come into the argument? I don't think so. Yeah, I'm using it match day 2. Have I shown you this? I was just talking about this just a minute ago. So yeah, which round has the most goals per game? It's actually if you look at all of them, World Cup and Euros, it's actually match day 1 and match day 3 have the lowest amount of goals per game. But I guess that's all of them. That doesn't include... You're going to have some big hauls in some of the games. I don't know what the highest score is. You do get some 6-1s and stuff like that sometimes. I think my sense is that World Cup, generally the games are quite tight. They're not... But then they might be more this time. Bigger differences between the teams. Got all the heat and all that business. So... yeah, it might be more goals this time. The lull comes in quarter-final. Oh, so yeah, we've got to talk about this, which is... oops, get rid of that. The lull comes in the quarter-final. So chips, wildcard, 12th man, max cap, probably the final. A quick word on the qualification chip, which is... I'm just round of 32, isn't it, I think? Because that's when you're more likely to get more right. It's going to be more... good teams versus bad teams. It's going to be easier to predict, I think. I mean, if you do it in the final or the semis, you're going to have 2 50-50 teams. It's like it doesn't feel like it feels like you're just punting there, just hoping for the best. Whereas you'll probably be right in the round of 32. So probably round of 32, I reckon. And then the mystery chip. So there's a chap called FPL Joe who's been really good lately. A lot of people talking about him, doing great work. And he did this little let's see, where have I got it here? So he looked at the JSON on just public, I guess, and he found this mystery booster clean sheet shield. For anybody that doesn't know, most people probably do, but anybody that doesn't, it might be a clean sheet shield, where you basically, any goalkeeper, defender or midfielder in your team will only lose their clean sheet points after conceding 2 goals, not 1. So that's the clean sheet shield. No guarantee that will be what the mystery chip is. That could have just been some kind of a thing that they were just playing with, just to kind of play around with the model, and the real mystery chip will come out. Who knows? But my inclination, knowing FIFA as I think I do, playing all these games, they're usually a bit crappy at these games. They don't put too much attention to it. So I suspect that's just an error, and that is the mystery booster. They just didn't hide it. That's probably it, and they probably won't change it either. Because when you try to contact them and stuff, they never reply. There's nothing. Cause I've asked them a few questions, but they never reply. So I think that's probably the booster. So it's a clean sheet shield, probably. Goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders only lose their clean sheet point after 2 goals, not 1. So when would be the best time to play that? I looked into that as well. So this is the rate of conceding 1 or less goal per team through all of these last competitions, World Cups and Euros. And this one here, so England and Italy had a 1-1 final there in the Euros. So they both would have got it. So that was max. So the higher number, the better. You can't use it in the groups. So it seems to me like it was quarterfinals. And this matches up with like a little quarterfinal lull in goals. Slightly less goals in the quarterfinal. Just could have been a little lull there. And slightly more games finished either 1 goal or less conceded. So quarterfinals stands out. The problem is we've got the round of 32 this season. So does that mean it's going to be pushed back to the round of 16 will be the lull? I think it'll be one of those two. I would still probably lean towards quarterfinals, given that that's the same one that it was last time. Maybe tougher games, nervousness about getting to the semis, getting a bit tired by that point in the tournament. Don't know. Although tiredness, you'd think it'd be more goals, more defensive lapses. But I've got nothing else to go on. And I want to use the qualification chip in round of 32, probably max cap, match day in the final, so probably clean sheet shield. I'll probably go for quarterfinals. I don't know why I've put it there. I don't want to put it there. Let's put it there. Probably quarterfinals for me. Wildcard, I mean, there's a possibility I'll get to match day 3 and not need to use that wildcard there, and then I'll use it in the knockouts, but at the moment, match day 3. So that's the chips. That is the chips. And then, so the only other thing to talk about, I think, is well, I did look at the stadiums. Something is interesting. Talking about the heat as well. I don't think these stadiums, not that many of them, are actually even that hot. So you've got a couple in Canada are pretty cool. This one of them in Mexico is very high altitude, but it's actually quite cool up in the mountains. So this is the average temperature in June in these stadiums. So it could be hotter, but this is the average. The other two Mexican stadiums are very hot. There's a couple of American stadiums that are really probably hot. Miami, Hard Rock, Kansas, Arrowhead Stadium. But they've got 3 of them have got air conditioning. The Boston one is usually not that hot. LA and San Francisco are usually relatively cool, coastal breezes, I've heard. Seattle's pretty cold. It's not that far away from Canada. That's usually pretty cool. So maybe New Jersey and Philly could get a little hot. But yeah, there's not actually that many hot stadiums. Now it depends on the weather. This is the average, so it could be more than this, could be less than this. But that's something to think about. And then I also did this where I was looking at like which games. This is really sad. This is where I've been spending all my time wasting it. But I was looking at the average temperature that these teams are used to. So Mexico, in their summers, they're kind of used to 26 degrees. They're used to hot weather, whereas other teams like Czechia, Canada, they're used to colder weather. This is what they're used to. So you look at Scotland, they're very cold, used to kind of much colder weather. And then you can kind of see, so one of the most stark games is Brazil versus Scotland, which other people have picked up. So Brazil versus Scotland here, that -12 just means they're going to be playing in 27 degree is the average heat in Miami in June, and Scotland are used to 15 degrees or something like that. So it's going to be like a big shock to their system, whereas Brazil, they'll probably be fine with it. So these kind of like any red number you see that's kind of dark, a minus number, not that one. So here's another one here. Colombia, what's that? 29. Don't know what that one is. Colombia used to heat. Actually, and it said Colombia here's. I've got it as 18. That might be wrong. I feel like Colombia's quite a hot place, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe there's certain parts that are cool, but yeah, I'd probably ignore that one. I might upload all these spreadsheets, so if anyone wants to have a look, they can. But yeah, there's some. Yeah, Colombia's probably doesn't really count. Anyway, yeah, That's temperatures with the stadiums. Chips, free transfers. Oh, the bracket. Oh, did I talk about motivations? I don't think I talked about motivations, did I? One sec. So let me just pause it 1 sec. Sorry, I forgot to talk about motivations as well. So I've just added this because I thought this was interesting. Firstly, something about the bookies. Listening to betting podcasts, I think that's a tip I would give, because they often, FPL community can be a bit of a bubble sometimes, and betting podcasts, they literally put their money where their mouth is, and so they're kind of interesting to listen to. And the way they talk about the bookies as well, because the thing about the World Cup is that there's limited data that we're all going on, even the bookies. They've only got the qualification data. These teams don't really play, the players haven't actually played with each other that much. So it's kind of, and when you listen to the bookies, the betting websites, they're kind of in competition with the bookies. They're trying to kind of see if there's an edge where they can kind of get some knowledge that the bookies don't know. So I kind of like that. So motivations and narrative and trying to figure out edges and stuff is interesting, because the bookies might not know everything. They might not know everything. So I thought it was interesting to look into the narratives and stuff like that. And one thing I thought was interesting, one question was like, which continents and countries care more about the World Cup than others? Because sometimes the impression I get is like in England, in Europe, most of the players care more about their domestic league. And I almost get this sense, do they care about the World Cup, or is it like, oh, I now got to go to the World Cup, I just want to have a month off in the summer? I don't know if that's true, but there might be a little degree of that, because the domestic league, the Premier League and stuff, is such a kind of big league. Whereas in other countries like South America and America in general and stuff, their leagues aren't well known. Whereas the World Cup, that's when everyone gets their eyes, and that's the big one. And I looked at this. This is the Qatar 22 World Cup. This is some FIFA summary data. This is total engagement in the millions, but obviously Asia top, but they've got more people over there. But if you look at it per capita, South America 85%. This is there's lots of other things to say about it, but the idea that like 85% of people in South America, 85% of people in South America at some point or other engaged with media on the World Cup 2022 is like a huge number. Africa 48%, but that might be more to do with not having as much media access. And then there's North, Central America, the Caribbean, Europe 70%, Asia like the least. So that's one where they've probably got a fair amount of access, but they just not that interested. But I just thought that might be a gauge of like who cares the most. And Europe care. North America maybe not that much, but care a little, but not that much. I think Africa probably care more. They just don't have access. But South America 85%, and they're a little bit deprived in various areas. So that's my impression, is that South America really care about the World Cup. It's huge. So that's something that's in my mind. And then another thing I looked at, which is interesting for me, I'd be surprised if anybody's still watching this, because this is only really interesting for me. But I'm going to talk about it anyway. This is the bracket. I just wanted to answer the question, are there some teams that might actually be motivated to not win their group, or for some teams it might not matter if they win their group depending on their route to the final? Now this is a bit complicated to look at, but if you think basically yellow, that bright yellow is Brazil, the blue is France, that colour there, that's Spain, the one that looks like Spain, that's Argentina, that light blue is Argentina, white is England, Netherlands is orange. Some of the colours start to get a bit more tricky. So Germany is brown. These are the routes. That yellow is like the second place teams over here, the runners up. So it gets a bit. But the main ones, just think of like France and Spain, Brazil, England, Argentina. They're the big ones. And then these little boxes of colours here. The first one in that column and that column closest. These are permutations that are just locked. So runners up in Group A will play runners up in Group B. That colour's just locked and they go there. That's what's going to happen. Done. This one here, Group C, the winners will play the runners-up in Group F, and these two are locked. C and F are connected, so winners of C play runners-up in Group F, winners of F play runners-up in Group C. So there's certain patterns. So runners-up of Group A and B play each other, runners-up of Group D and G play each other, runners-up of Group E and I play each other. They're locked. And then C and F, winners play runners-up, runners-up play winners. H and J, winners play runners-up, runners-up play winners. And sorry, K and L, the runners-up play each other. So they're all locked. And then the rest of them, if they've got a winner, they, so Mexico, if they win their group, these are the third place teams they could play. They're going to play, it's going to be the top 8 third place teams. And for Mexico, it could come from any of these groups. And then for Switzerland, it's the pink, so they could play the best third place team from any of these groups, and so on. The only kind of interesting thing about that is that if you look at like England's group here, Ghana, if they happen to, well, if this is based on probability, so whoever finishes third in England's group, if they finish in the top 8 third place teams, they will play the winner of Group K. They've got no other option, because there's only one. There's only one, permutation. It's the same with Group K. Whoever finishes third in that group will play the top of L, which is England. Yeah, I think so. I think that's right. If whoever finishes third in Group K, if they finish in the top 8 third place teams, then they will be playing England. If England win their group. So that's kind of just something interesting. But they're all the permutations. And so the question of like, what have people got something to play for? So I put some notes for this. Mexico is probably best to win, because then they can play third place teams. Second's not bad though. Second, you just play second over here. This group isn't too bad. Third is probably a void though, because you could play Germany, you could play Belgium. Germany or Belgium. Group B, probably best to win, but again, so second isn't that bad, and third would be either America's group, so America, Turkey, or Germany. So yeah, these first two groups, not a massive stress to win necessarily. Group B, Brazil, probably. They're gonna have to play Netherlands or Japan, whether they come first or second. So I guess again, there's like, maybe they would deem both of them about as good as each other. I don't know. But you don't want to come third though. Third, you'll have to play either Mexico, Germany, or France. You could have to play France in this group. So third, don't want to be third. This one again's got a blue, so don't want to be third in this group. Seconds, maybe not too bad. First could be fine because you're playing third place teams. Do I want to go through all of this? I'll just go through here. E, don't come third. Second, Senegal and Norway. I don't know. I think it's basically best to win for everybody, every team. But I think there might be some teams that it doesn't matter that much if they come second. I think there might be some teams it doesn't matter too much if they come second. Argentina, Algeria. See, Argentina will probably have to play Uruguay or Spain. That's going to be a tricky round of 32. So not all the round of 32 games are going to be obvious and easy winners. There could be some tricky ones in there. Yeah, and one other thing about the third place teams, the teams in these latter groups, particularly the third place teams, they're going to know what they need to do to become one of the top 8 third place, because all these other teams will have played, these groups will have played before them. So there's a bit of an advantage for these third place teams. Something to bear in mind. That's it. And then I've also got Iran. Something just to note about Iran is that where are we looking? Who's in their group? Iran. Oh, where am I looking? There's Iran. So they're playing Egypt, Belgium, and New Zealand. And Iran are having a hell of a tricky time. So they've got visa problems. So at the moment it looks like they have to kind of camp in Mexico. They're going to have to fly in for their games and then fly back out again. I think Trump's been saying it's best he didn't really want them to even come, and they've just turned up like unwelcome kind of thing. I know that's Trump's words, not my words. And then it's like also the New Zealand, the Iran-Egypt game. Apparently there's some sort of pride thing going on in Seattle. So this Iran-Egypt game? Is it here? And this must be this one, Iran-Egypt. It's in Seattle. There's some kind of Pride Day or Pride thing happening at that stadium. And it sounds very much like they've done that deliberately to provoke Middle Eastern countries that aren't as on board with Pride stuff. So they've got a lot of, weight against them. So maybe target them. If any teams playing them. Where are they? I've got too many forms. I can't get. So I don't know. Egypt and Belgium. Maybe Belgium could be good. Got too many bloody spreadsheets here, haven't I? Belgium. So they play Egypt, then Iran, then New Zealand. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, this video is going on very long. I think I'm going to keep talking because I've got one more thing to talk about, which is the actual draft, which I haven't done, and the model. So I'm going to keep talking. I'll put timestamps below. People can kind of, if they want to look, they can kind of go through timestamps. So if I'm wildcard in match day 3, I'm interested in match days 1 and 2. So these are the players. I've made a little model. The way I've done it is, one of the main things I've done is again I've used FPL Joe's data, because in the qualifying you've got players like Chris Wood that did really well in qualifying, but he plays for New Zealand and he's playing easier games in Oceania and all this kind of stuff. Is he going to carry on that rate? Probably not. So what I did instead is I've looked at these projected goals, because this is probably the best sense of like how many goals there's going to be. And then I looked at the percentage of the team's goals that each player gets. So, some players get 30-40% of all their team's goals. Other teams it's spread out more. So, Chris Wood might get a lot of his team's goals, but if he's not projected to score many goals, where is he down here, only 0.88, then his percentage of that projection is going to be only 0.44 or whatever it is if he's 50%. So that's kind of the way I worked it out. Very slapdash. Yeah, this is how it's come out. So Mbappe first, Oyarzabal second, Wirtz is up there. He was somebody who I wasn't instinctively thinking would be a good pick. He's played 8 out of 8 in qualifying, 3 goals, 4 assists, which is quite a lot. That's a return almost every game. So return almost every game. Yeah, so I guess, is he good then? They've obviously got the really good game starting. He looks pretty nailed. He played all of them. So I guess maybe he is, and maybe I need to take my FPL blinkers off. But he's up there. Kimmich is next. Some people are going for Raum, and actually Raum is just a little bit below. Can have a quick look at those two. Raum, Kimmich got 2 goals and an assist. Raum got 1 goal and 2 assists. Raum didn't play every game. He was an unused sub for 2 of them. You might need to look into that. Whereas Kimmich played all 7. Oh well, no, sorry, he was a sub for 2 of them. Raum, a used sub. Whereas Kimmich was an unused sub. And I generally, when I see unused subs, I think it was probably just a rest. Then he probably wasn't intended to play that game. So Kimmich feels more nailed. I've got their club data here as well. So Kimmich plays for Bayern Munich, where he's had 2 goals and 8 assists. Pretty good. Raum plays for Leipzig. He's had 3 goals and 7 assists. So pretty similar-ish. They both seem pretty nailed for their teams. I don't know. Why would you go for Raum over Kimmich? It's probably stuff that people have seen that I haven't. He's a bit cheaper. Might be lower owned, but I don't know. Maybe they're about as good as each other. I feel like Kimmich feels safer. Haaland is up there. Valencia is somebody that I keep thinking about. My first iteration of this model, he was top, but then I tweaked it a bit. But he's still up there. He's interesting. Ivory Coast is tricky, but then Curacao next. He always seems to do well. Seems pretty nailed. 1 sub in qualification, but seems pretty nailed. 7 goals, 2 assists. He's good. He's good, but Haaland and Oyarzabal and Mbappe are probably better. I think. Haaland got 16 goals. 47% of his team's goals. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we'll do Haaland to Valencia. Anyway, Marino, I don't know whether he's back or not. But he got a lot of goals. I'd probably avoid him. Cucurella, probably might go for him. Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz played 19 of 19. That's like a huge amount of minutes. 7 goals, 3 assists. Pretty good. More goals and assists. He looks good. Harry Kane is good, obviously, but like not as good as Haaland, Mbappe and Oyarzabal. So, but he's still up there. Salah is interesting. And João Cancelo's there actually as well. 2 goals, 2 assists, but I'd have to research a lot of these players. Salah's interesting. 9 goals, 3 assists. Absolutely nailed for Egypt. Yeah, so he's up there. But he costs so much money though, doesn't he? So, yeah, probably not. But maybe. Walter Made. Is he any good? 4 goals, 1 assist. Fairly good start rate. Sane. Sane's only 75%, so maybe I don't know if he's absolutely nailed. 2 goals, 3 assists, so it's pretty good considering he didn't play that many minutes. I mean, there's players I don't know their names, so I'm avoiding them, but then maybe I should. There's going to be a lot of these players. Grimaldo. Oh no, he's not nailed. Don't know why he's up there really. This is assuming a start. So some of these players they might not start. Yeah, so ignore these players. Dumfries, 2 goals, 4 assists. I feel like I'm gonna inevitably end up with him in my team. Japan's a tough first game though. Sweden's tricky as well, isn't it? He does like to score goals though, doesn't he? 2 goals, 4 assists, not bad. Dumfries maybe. Unai Simon is a keeper. Cesar Montes, he's another player that my model originally had very high. I tweaked it, but he's still quite high. I don't know who he is, but he's like a Mexican defender apparently, and he's high on my model. 3 goals. 3 goals in qualifying. Played 11 out of 11. 1 unused sub, so he's probably pretty nailed. I've got their ages here as well. 27. Seems fine. Seems pretty nailed. He plays for, I don't have his data. But he's interesting. Mexico, I don't know what their clean sheet chances are like though, really. So maybe not. I think I'm going to stop talking. I might make another video with my actually do a first draft and actually start thinking about the players and those kind of questions, and maybe do a first draft maybe for next week. Yeah, I think that will do. So I'm going to stop it there, and thanks for listening. See you later. Bye bye.